All right, Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Rechak Kwadash. Double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops at Great Millstone for teaching me this truth. It's your brother Rabbi Knapp coming out with a lesson, Lord's will, satisfying to the Lord's elect. I'm going to just go through a couple of precepts and just read. I'm actually in the book of Sirach, the 10th chapter, going into the 11th chapter. I'm just gonna read from there, man. Share my screen. Not spectacular. How do I share my screen? All right, and I'm gonna start. Let me close some of these tabs up. All right, we can get a new chat. 1611. Starting the book of Sirach, chapter 10, in verse 26. It says, "Be not overwise in doing thy business, and boast not thyself in the time of thy distress." Be not overwise. Let's look at that, man. You know, this knowledge will puff you up, man. So you want to make sure that, you're not puffed up, and you're not. Let's read that again. Be not overwise in doing thy business. The business is to do the will of the Lord. You don't want to be overwise, meaning to, kind of be puffed up. And boast not thyself in the time of thy distress. Boast not thyself in the time of thy distress. Let's see what that means. Let's get some knowledge out here, man. Sirach 10 and 26, Sirach and Ecclesiasticus is the same thing, if you don't know. Means that one should not boast about their wisdom or skills when working, nor should they exaggerate their difficulties or hardships. Nor should they exaggerate the difficulty or hardships. It encourages humility and a realistic assessment of oneself rather than arrogance or self-pity, according to several translations of the Bible. Yeah, so that's a good point. Exaggerating your difficulties and hardships to make it seem like you're suffering more than everybody else, man. The Lord got each individual is suffering something, man. If you're an Israelite, you're gonna be suffering something. All right. And I'm gonna get this in chat too. I'm gonna get this in the chat. As I just said, Ecclesiasticus chapter 10, 26, meaning. Okay, be not overwise in doing thy business, and boast not thyself in the time of thy distress. This verse gives wisdom on humility and restraint, even during hardship. Be not overwise in doing thy business. Don't try to appear smarter than others or act with excessive cunning or pride in your affairs. Don't try to appear smarter than others, man. People have been doing this work before you came into this truth, man. The scriptures that tell you that we are entered into other men's labors. Some people come into this truth like they're smarter than everybody or something, man. Or not even, they got this arrogancy about themselves, man. Like they like the Lord's dealing with them on a higher level than he was dealing with everyone else who came into this truth or something, man. You don't be like that, man. That's what I'm getting from this precept. John 4 and 38. It says, I sent you to reap that whereon ye bestowed no labor. Other men labored, and ye are entered into their labors. Yeah, we're doing the same thing they've been doing. They showed us how to do this. Okay, this verse highlights the idea that Yahweh followers would benefit from the work and preparation done by others, and we benefited from their work. They're the ones who got these breakdowns and precepts. The Lord was dealing with them, and through them, that He's dealing with us by giving us the gift to believe. Okay, and we can't forget where we got this knowledge from. All right, specifically referencing the prophets and those who prepared the way for the gospel. Yeah, specifically referencing the prophets, those who actually wrote the book, who we know, according to 1 Corinthians 14 and 32, those spirits of the prophets are subject to the prophets. Okay, as a matter of fact, let me grab that. 1 Corinthians. So those prophets are back here today doing what they were doing in these past lives, prophesying. Okay. And the spirits of the prophets are subject to the prophets. I just want to grab the precept, just like I said. Okay. And we entered into other men's labors, John 4 and 38. Let's get that. Okay, let's open another chat. John 4:38 meaning. This verse is spoken by Hamashiach to his disciples after his conversation with the Samaritan woman. It is part of a lesson he teaches about spiritual harvest. Verse breakdown, I sent you to reap. Hamashiach is telling his disciples that they are being sent to gather the fruit of labor. That is, to bring people into the faith. That's what you should be doing. Okay? Going back to Ecclesiastes 10 and 26. Be not overwise in doing thy business, and boast not thyself in the time of thy distress. Yeah, don't boast about your hardships. And be not overwise, man. You got to have some humility when you're dealing with people, especially who you were before you came into this truth. Don't forget who that person was and how it was a blessing that the Lord pulls you out of the world to receive this truth. And you need to approach others the same way. Okay? That whereon ye bestowed no labor. The disciples did not do the initial work in converting or preparing these people. Others, like the prophets, John the Baptist, or even Hamashiach himself, had already done that groundwork. Yeah, the Old Testament was written before they even went out to go teach. And then Hamashiach had to give them the understanding of him being that sacrifice to go push that word. Other men labor refers to the prophets, righteous men of old, or even Hamashiach, who sowed the seed of truth. Okay, Matthew 23 and 34. Let's grab that. Matthew 23 and 34. So he sowed that seed of truth, man. Just the same way the prophets of old got it, we got it. I think it said Matthew 24 and 34. 23 and 34. Wherefore, behold, I send unto you the prophets and wise men and scribes, and some of them ye shall kill and crucify, and some of them shall ye scourge in your synagogues and persecute them from city to city, that upon you may come all the righteous blood shed upon the earth, from the blood of the righteous Abel unto the blood of Zacharias, son of Barachias, whom ye slew between the temple and the altar. Verily I say unto you, all these things shall come upon this generation. Yeah, the same thing's gonna happen to you. You are into their labors. The disciples are now stepping into the fruits of someone else's hard spiritual work and will reap the harvest of souls. 1 Corinthians 3, 6, verse 8. I have planted, Apollos watered, but God gave the increase. Emphasizes how different laborers have different roles, but all work together under God. It's right. And we entered into that. Romans 15 and 20. Yea, so have I strived to preach the gospel, not where Hamashiach was named, lest I should build upon another man's foundation. Shows Paul's awareness of building on others' efforts. You know, we're building on others' efforts with respect to the work they already done. We're not building our own foundation on top of a foundation that was created for us to build thereupon. Hebrews 11 and 39. So just like you come onto a work site, you got to follow the same rules that people worked on before. There's a blueprint that you have to follow, which is the truth. The same way you received it freely, you receive, freely give. That's one of the requirements. Another thing is going into the etymology of words, going into breaking the scriptures down the way you've learned it from GMS. Okay? Even if you're not a part of GMS, if you believe in the truth, you believe that's the truth, then you got to work accordingly. Hebrews 11 and 39 through 40. And these all, having obtained a good report through faith, receive not the promise, that they without us should not be made perfect. Points to the saints who labored in faith, awaiting fulfillment, work that the apostles would help complete. That's right. Okay, Matthew 13 and 37. He that soweth the good seed is the Son of Man, the field is the world. Hamashiach began the sowing process, the disciples continue the reaping. And just like the elders coming all the way down to us, you know, the younger brothers coming into this truth. Not younger in age, but you might have came into this truth more recently. You're a baby, okay? Some of y'all ain't got more time than 5 years or less, 10 years or less, 15 years or less. You ain't got 40 years doing this, man. Okay. Summary: Hamashiach is preparing his disciples to take part in the spiritual harvest, bringing people, which are Israelites, to repentance, because they're the people who the law, statutes, and commandments were given to. So they're technically the only people that can repent. And faith, even though they did not start the process, it is a message about humility, cooperation among God's servants across time, and the teamwork in the ministry. They reap where others have sown, and this is all part of God's greater plan. Exactly. Sirach 10 and 27. Better is he that laboreth and aboundeth in all things, than he that boasteth himself and wanteth bread. Did I finish reading this? Salakia. Cross references for Sirach 10 and 26. Romans 12 and 3. Not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think. And that's one thing you don't want to do. Think of this knowledge will puff you up. Okay? Let's grab that. Knowledge puffeth up. I think that's 1 Corinthians 8 and 1, right? I'll grab it out of the gateway. Now concerning this, things offered unto idols, we know that we all have knowledge. Knowledge puffeth up, but charity edifieth. Okay, we all have knowledge, man. Proverbs 3 and 7. But knowledge puffs you up, man. The smarter you get, the more you think you somebody when you're not. This word is not your own, man. Even Yahweh Shai had to admit, this is not my doctrine. KJV. John 7 and 16. Let's grab that. Let's grab that. He had to admit it, man. See the humility in the Lord, and you ain't even the Lord, but you think you somebody, man. Shame on you if you think like that. John 7 and 16. Yahweh Shai answered them, my doctrine is not mine, but his that sent me. Exactly, this is not our doctrine. This is Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai's. Okay. Proverbs 3 and 7. Be not wise in thine own eyes. Fear the Lord and depart from evil. Yeah, be not wise in thine own eyes. Okay, you ain't smarter than nobody, man. And you might be smarter than somebody, man. Just you be humble. That's all I'm saying. Be humble about this thing. You know how you got this word. Boast not thyself in the time of thy distress. When you're in trouble or suffering, don't be proud or pretend you're doing fine. Acknowledge your condition humbly without seeking praise or sympathy for enduring hardship. Cross-reference. Proverbs 27:1. Boast not thyself of tomorrow, for thou knowest not what a day may bring forth. Yeah, so boast not thyself in the time of thy distress. When you're in trouble or suffering, don't be proud or pretend you're doing fine. Okay? Yeah, sometimes you got to reach out, man. James 4 and 16. But now ye rejoice in your boastings. All such rejoicing is evil. You're rejoicing in your boastings. What are you boasting for if it's not in the Lord? 2 Corinthians 12 and 9. Paul's boasts in infirmities only to glorify Hamashiach, not himself. Yeah. Things that you go through for the Lord. Hey, man. That's a beautiful thing that you had to suffer for Yahweh Shai Hamashiach to bring out the truth, man. Not boasting, oh, look at what I'm going through. You ain't going through nothing, you know. Nah, man. Respect. Hey, just endure, man. Respect it. Respect whatever you got to go through. This verse teaches humility in action and speech, not to seek recognition for cleverness or sufferings, whether in work or trials, stay grounded and sincere. That's beautiful. But I'm ending right there, Lord's will. That was edifying to the Lord.